Hello and welcome to Following On from talkSPORT. Myself, Jon Norman, alongside Neil Manthorp. Less than 24 hours out from the first day of the first test of 5 between England and India. Still a few questions to be answered, Manners. Still don't know the makeup of the India side. We know England's. But boy, oh boy, have we got a series that's worth talking about, it's worth salivating about, and it's worth looking forward to. You're still here from the World Test Championship final highs. I hope that when the crash comes, Manners, well, I just hope it's after the 5th test anyway.
There's going to be no crash. This is really exciting. I mean, I don't want to be disparaging about any other teams, but I mean, it is India, and there are so many fabulous storylines before we even have a series. And we've had a great storyline with South Africa winning the World Test Championship, but I get the sense, I mean, there are established stars, obviously, there's Ben Stokes and Joe Root in the England team, but there's no Jimmy Anderson, there's no Stuart Broad, and there's obviously the Indian big stars have got. I get the sense that it's a time for new stars to make names. You've got this great story of Karen Nair, who's probably going to bat 3.
Yeah.
He hasn't,
Welcome back.
And amazing. I mean, he scored 303 not out against England in Chennai, was 7.5, almost 8 years ago. So Sai Sudarshan perhaps. But I just get the sense that it is an opportunity. It's a series, 5 test matches for new heroes. And that really excites me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm glad that you got Sai Sudarshan's name correctly pronounced, because we need to teach Harmy. Because if there's one thing that gets more comments on the YouTube channel, it's his pronunciation of Sai Sudarshan. That's a battle for another day. He may not play as well. He actually played for Surrey a couple of times, so I'm all in. But yeah, you're right about Karun Nair. I mean, that would be something. We're about to hear from Shubman Gill, the India Test captain. That still doesn't sound quite right, actually. He's down to bat at 4, so he's going to drop himself down a place, much like Joe Root did when he took over the captaincy of England. That's the decision he's made. Does mean that both sides will be going in with, would untested be correct? Well, Ollie Pope has been tested at 3. Ollie Pope does play at 3 as well. That was one of the unknowns coming into this series, which was answered very firmly,
yes,
by Ben Stokes.
Well, he and Brendan McCullum have only themselves to blame. I mean, Ben Stokes very clearly, when asked about Jacob Bethel, said, "You work it out for yourself." He said he will come straight back in. He didn't say that he will come straight back into the squad. He gave a very strong, emphatic impression that he would come back in and bat at number 3. So for him to be uppity about a media agenda, I think is unfair on the media. I mean, there's plenty of agendas you can have a go at us for, but that's not one of them.
Our pronunciation of Sai Sudarshan being one of them.
And it's also Karen Nair, not Karen Nair.
Well, there we go, see? Updates as you get them, corrections as you get them. How is Anton Devcic?
He was happy with both, wasn't he, when he commentated? I said, so is it Devcic or Devcic? He said, you can go with either, which makes life simple.
This is a really, Chris Woakes and Ben Stokes aside, this is an untested England bowling lineup, isn't it? And it made me think, actually, the last time England played India, they went in with an equally untested one. I mean, Shoaib Bashir played, 7 first-class games? Tom Hartley hadn't played a lot of cricket. And they went up against India. And if not for possibly Jarrell being dropped by Ollie Robinson, I think it was Jarrell, England could have gone to Dharamshala 2-2. And one of the things, the takeaways from Ben Stokes' captaincy, which I've absolutely loved, is that there have been so many players brought into this side over the course of the last 3 years. And more often than not, they've really taken to Test cricket in a manner that just doesn't seem to happen. Or it certainly hasn't happened under any other England captain.
It's extraordinary, but my concern, you just mentioned Tom Hartley there, my concern is that they're sort of disposable. They come in to a job, they're like napkins.
They make big decisions between series, don't they? They very rarely change mid-series, but between series, it's not all boom boxes and chilled out training.
Absolutely.
There's some hard decisions made.
There's so many of the established protocols are being challenged, aren't they? I mean, they bring in a guy like Josh Hull. I mean, he's played 1 test, but lots of guys have played 1 or 2 test matches and have done well. 5 wickets on debut.
Yep.
Quite common. But where is Tom Hartley? Does he not get a look in until England go back to the subcontinent? And that's not a criticism. I'm not giving up criticising, because we've had these established protocols and norms that I've inherited from previous generations of cricket commentators and journalists, and that, you know, for 30 years I thought that's the way you do it. You know, you earn the right for selection, and you know, it doesn't matter. It didn't used to matter how talented and how brilliant you were and how well somebody's eye for talent was. You know, if you hadn't done your 2 or 3 years and scored your runs at county level, you hadn't earned your selection into the England team. You know, they used to say England caps are, you know, not party hats. You earn one, and I was very sceptical about the Jacob Bethell. He still hasn't scored a senior 100, but I've been put firmly in my place. I mean, we were in New Zealand. We saw just how brilliant he was, and you have to say, clearly, Rob Key and his cohort of fellow selectors do have a brilliant eye for talent, and they know far more than I do.
There we go. I did actually catch up with Ben Stokes. Let's hear what he had to say. Ben, thanks for talking to us on talkSPORT ahead of 10 test matches, which, well, they don't get much bigger, do they? 5 against India, 5 against Australia. But Rob Key and the management, it's all about playing where your feet are. Where are we ahead of what is an extraordinarily exciting time for English cricket?
Yeah, well, like you said, we're focusing on these 5 games first against India. We know what we've got coming up after that, but for right now, we're solely focused on what we need to do in these 5 games against India. It's going to be hard, tough series. It always is against India. 5 games, as you said, is always a tough one, you know, mentally and physically on the body as well. So everyone's in a really good place. It's nearly the end of June. The fact that this is only the day before our second test match since the New Year is pretty mad to think about. But yeah, look, everyone's very, very excited and raring to go. It
is exciting. It's not that long ago since you played a 5 test series against India, start 2024. You went over there with an inexperienced bowling attack. And if not for maybe a drop catch here or whatever there, you go to Dharamshala 2 apiece, and you know that was a competitive test series. Moving forward to this one, it's another inexperienced bowling attack, slightly different in makeup, but what do you think England have to do better this time around to make sure they're still in with a chance of winning as we approach the back end of the series?
So, yeah, well, we're obviously in our home conditions here. We know it. Obviously, a lot better, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easier than what it was out in India. Yeah, look, we've had obviously a lot of time to be able to come together as a group and discuss things about where we want to go as a team, how we want to move forward, things we want to hold on to because we know we're very good at that, but also things and certain areas where we know that we maybe have let ourselves down in the past in games, and you know, how can we be better at, I don't know, just being better. You know, we have been good over the last 3 years. I think results show that, but we want to be better than good. And yeah, so for us it's about, you know, obviously taking all the good things that we feel we've done as a team, but obviously improving on the areas where we think that we certainly need to improve on, especially with where I want to try and take this team, and you know, having the players on board with that and really buying into that and understanding that is obviously very, very valuable. So yeah, it's a really exciting time coming up for us.
And lastly, of course, back then you didn't have Ben Stokes the bowler to call upon in the first 4 test matches. You do have Ben Stokes the bowler to call upon this time. Have you set yourself a target, or not a target so much, have you set yourself a limit? You know, is there a number of overs that you're going to allow yourself to bowl, or are you're more of a feel the moment kind of captain?
Look, I mean, I'll be honest, like, you know, it's still, you know, I've obviously got myself into a really, really good position with my body. You know, obviously I am the 4th seamer in the team, but you know, not being silly, and look, it's 5 games. I want to be fit for all 5 games. I want to be fit for all 5 games as, you know, the all-rounder, being able to obviously bowl my overs. So it's just been, you know, sensible and making sure that I'm not exposing myself to anything daft. I know I said this before the New Zealand series, but look, sometimes it does take something, you know, quite bad for you to believe in what you said. yeah, out in New Zealand, just the moment, the occasion, and being out there just, maybe took my mind away from actually the bigger picture. But yeah, we're probably a bit better at that now.
He's been really good talking to the press, Ben, but has he fallen out of love with the press a little bit? I mean, you were just talking about him, leading the press down a path which they duly took and then getting annoyed with them for doing so. He would say, actually, he just got a bit... it was a mixed message. What he was saying is, Beth will come back into the squad, not the team. And then he got a bit annoyed by the conjecture that surrounded that. But he still seems a little bit like he's bridling a little bit. He doesn't seem, even with that interview I did, he doesn't seem as happy as he has done at some point.
I think, and I've thought this for many, many years, that the media requirements of the England captain are too much. They're onerous, and I think that it really does get you down. And
yeah,
I mean, I would imagine you or me, or imagine anybody having to do an hour and a half of media commitments before a test match, and that's not including all of the other commitments and sponsor obligations, and so I mean, I still think that he's doing them better than poor old Joe did. I mean,
yeah.
That's,
also, he's a few years in now as well, right?
Yeah, and I still think that I think he's allowing himself the luxury of being a bit prickly from time to time. It's a huge ask, and I still think he does very, very well. But it's onerous. It's hard work, and I don't think it's a problem. I mean, he's still turning up. He still smiles. He listens. He engages.
He always thinks about the answer he's about to give.
Yeah, and that's not always the case.
No.
Many captains will just give platitudes and lines, that cliches, and he doesn't do that.
Take a look out onto the field of play. The strip is covered.
Yeah, but we saw how green it was.
It's
before
green,
it was covered.
but it's covered because there's been so much sun. They essentially don't want to bake it out any more than they need to. Your reading of it, this seems to me that maybe it might be a bowl first pitch. I know that.
Well, a bowl first pitch, but not in the old-fashioned sense of Headingley pitches, because they did a lot.
No.
I think that this is maybe a bowl first pitch because it might do something.
Yes.
I think it'll be dry and flat as we go into days, even the end of the first day, and the first afternoon, day 2 and 3. And I was really interested to read that the grass was going to be cut. The groundsman said that the grass would be cut to 8 millimetres, which is short. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see, by day 3, the pitch looking quite white and flat and a little bit slow. So, I'm not going to say fill your boots.
But fill your boots.
I am, actually. That could be a fill your boots job. Yeah.
Well, especially when you consider the bowling attacks. I think both teams' strength actually is in their batting. Obviously, Ben Stokes brings that all-round, strength, for sure. And in Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja, India have some all-round talent as well. But there's question marks over the India bowling lineup. We still don't know the team. We've just heard from the new skipper, Shubman Gill. One player who is playing for England is Brydon Carse, but he is part of a bowling attack that's not got a lot of Test cricket under the belt. Josh Tongue hasn't got a lot of Test cricket under the belt, and Shoaib Bashir only made his debut last year as well. So, apart from Chris Woakes and Ben Stokes, it's a push actually, if the pitch is that true, to see a world where England. I don't know if it's a push to they're going to take 20 wickets, but there's no Jimmy Anderson in there. There's no Stuart Broad. There's no Mark Wood. There's no Jofra Archer. There's some big guns missing, and we're not going to see Ben Stokes bowling 12 over spells. Yeah,
no, you're going to see him bowling 4 or 5 overs, and he said that he won't bowl more than 5, or he said if I am bowling more than 5, then someone shoot me. But I think it's going to be a kind of situation where partnerships are going to have to be broken open, sort of manual labour. I think so. Brydon Carse, with the best of him in the first 2 Test matches in New Zealand, he was absolutely. But then he played the 3rd Test, and he wasn't at his best, and he wasn't at full pace because he had his toe had split into 2. If you remember, it was ghastly.
Who'd be a bowler?
Yeah, exactly. But he is a break open type bowler at his best, and so is Stokes. if the ball goes soft and isn't swinging, Chris Woakes could struggle, but he'll take wickets with the new ball. England will hope. A couple of wickets with the new ball. Shoaib Bashir interests me, and he always interests me. He interests me before every single Test match. And if there was a time people said, that it'd be at Headingley if England go in with an all-seam attack and Joe to bowl a little bit of part-time off spin. But Ben Stokes is just not that man. He's like Shoaib Bashir is playing every single Test match. It's unusual to have your spinner batting at 11 and not being a great fielder. He's got one string to his bow, sort of thing. And Shubman Gill just tried to imply that they would be brave, didn't he? He said that they will pick bowlers and they won't be cautious.
It's the old tactic.
And go with all-rounders and try and lengthen the batting line.
Take 20 wickets and you don't have to score as many runs to win.
If that's true and he lives up to be bold, be brave, take 20 wickets, I said it doesn't matter how many runs you score if you don't take 20 wickets. But I still think that if they are brave when they bat and they decide to target Shoaib Bashir in order for Stokes to bowl more, then that could be really interesting. Because India aren't just going to let Shoaib Bashir bowl to him, and they're not going to wait for the bad ball. I don't think they play spin too well. So that's just one of many mouth-watering prospects.
Let's hear from Brydon Carse, who I spoke to yesterday here at Headingley. Brydon, thanks for talking to us on talkSPORT. First up, how is the toe?
Yeah, it's good. Look, obviously after a tricky winter, dealing with it, over the last 6 to 8 weeks, back playing cricket for Durham and in the England white ball stuff, it's come good. So I found a bit of a routine so far that's working, and then the next challenge will obviously be the longer formats of the game. But I couldn't be happier with how everything has gone so far.
You're fresh to Test cricket. How does it feel in the build-up to this Test match here at Headingley? First of 5 Test matches against India. So much interest. There's so many press here. So many questions. I mean, what's the buzz like, and how are you enjoying the experience so far? Yeah,
look, it certainly feels different. It feels bigger, but at the same time, it's so exciting. Yeah, really relishing the opportunity to be a part of this against the quality side. So come Friday, just cannot wait to get going. Pretty excited.
I bet. I mean, that's a big smile on the face, and I suppose that's what makes moments like this and makes peeling off that sock at the end of a long day and not really knowing if you want to see what's underneath it all kind of worthwhile. But for someone who's so new to international cricket, do you almost feel like, with the experience you have in terms of the first-class cricket behind you, the fact that you're going to be sitting in a dressing room without the Jimmies and the Stewarts and those kind of type, Mark Wood, of course, do you actually feel added responsibility coming in this that belies the fact that you actually haven't played a great deal of Test cricket?
I wouldn't say so. I think that's also down to the environment and the structure that's been put in place, ever since I've been a part of this Test side. I think it's just exciting. You've got a group of players in there and a group of bowlers especially that are relishing, going out and playing here at Headingley, and we've seen over a number of years some unbelievable cricket games here. So to almost, manifest the idea of being part of a game like that, or however it plans out, is something that I cannot wait for.
Now, of course, India have recently said goodbye to a couple of absolute out-and-out legends. We all know the names. One of them, I would have loved to have seen you take on Virat Kohli on the field, because talkSPORT were out in New Zealand, covered that series, and of course you played in Pakistan. You're a guy that likes to get in the battle. I mean, as part of you feel, I wouldn't have minded taking to the field with Virat Kohli to go toe-to-toe to see who came or would have come out on top?
Yeah, of course. He has been one of the greatest world-class batters of all time. So to be able to not have that opportunity is obviously is something you'll never know about. But everything happens for a reason, and he's had a successful career, and will go down as one of the greats. But they're a side that's gonna pose different threats now, and different players and different challenges that I'll all 100% be up for.
Brilliant stuff. We're a couple of days out from the Test match. Have you been told what your role is going to be in the side? Are you going to be the enforcer, first change, opening bowler?
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of discussion around that. You know, I will no doubt find 100% clarity this afternoon. But you know, if it is, you know, the enforcer, or if it is taking the new ball, you know, which there has been chat about, you know, that's an opportunity that I'm looking forward, you know, to grabbing with both hands. Yeah.
You know, we were talking about Shoaib Bashir before that first Christchurch test, weren't we? And we were saying much the same thing. And then he rocks up, and I think he took 4 wickets on day one, didn't he? Of the first test.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we shall see. We shall see. What about then India? We've spoken at length about England. TalkSPORT had the series when England played India last time in 2024, and there's some key differences between that team as there are India. For England, there's no Jimmy Anderson, there's no Ollie Robinson. England toured without Harry Brooks, so he's back. England toured without a bowling capable, or without Ben Stokes capable of bowling. He did actually come and bowl in the 5th test, surprised us all. Of course, took a wicket first ball, very Ian Botham-esque. But then, of course, there's no Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli didn't play in that series, so that's essentially the same. Ravichandran Ashwin may be wishing that he was playing now, because I think he would have been a right old handful here. So 2 very different teams. Some have strengthened, some have weakened. But what did we learn last year that can be taken into this series, do you think? Especially from a Ben Stokes perspective in captaincy, and maybe from an Indian perspective as well, because they haven't won a test series against England here for a long time.
Yeah, they've only won 3 times, the first time in 1970. So it was really apparent when Shubman Gill gave his press conference just how much it means to India, and to him in particular.
IPL's come around, you know, they're like London buses, aren't they? Said no one ever.
One a year. No, that was brilliant. I mean, there was no thinking about it. There was not even. Clearly, there was no doubt about the answer, but there was no sort of pause about how.
No, he was straight in there.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He wasn't worried about treading on any IPL toes.
No. It was a short,
Just
wide
straight
delivery
in.
that was slapped through the covers before.
Brilliant. And he said, you know, how often do you get to come to England to play a test series? He said, if you're he said once, maybe twice, if you're the very, very, very best, 3 times. But he is regarding this as an opportunity of a lifetime. You know, I mean, I don't know if he'll come as captain again. I think he's a good enough player to come again, to tour England again. But it's fabulous, isn't it? There's been no talk of Washington Sundar, which I'm quite surprised about, really. They're obviously just one spinner, and that will be Jadeja. You know, first of all, John, it's an 18-man squad. There are a lot of options, and I can only see sort of maybe 3 or 4 of them who are like out-and-out reserves. How much stock do England put in knowing what the team is? Because Shubman Gill, to me, he was asked who's going to be batting at number 3. He was asked for a team, and he said, no, we want to look at the pitch one more time. We've got a couple of options. It's hard to believe that's true. Hey? I mean, less than 24 hours before the start of the Test match, it's hard to believe they don't know what their 11 is. So
I think they're just so used to never giving anything away. It's just the default setting, isn't it?
Yeah.
They know.
They must do.
They can't. Oh, okay, we'll go with Thakur. I mean, it's.
What do you think?
Actually,
have a look at the pitch at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly. Okay, ready, please. I think they know, right? And it's like, what was the pitch telling you about who's going to bat at 3? I mean, I can't read a pitch. Like, let's be honest, no one reads those pitches. The greatest minds the game's ever known goes out there on day one, says something's going to happen, and it's always, well, not always, it's very often the opposite.
Particularly the composition of the team, as you said, regarding the number 3. I mean, you might go out there and go, whoa, it's just a little bit drier than I thought. And so maybe Shardul Thakur gets the ball to grip a bit, but not like, I think this will suit Karen Nair at number 3.
No, exactly. So no. It is going to be an exciting series, though, and listeners or viewers overseas are going to be able to join our commentary outside of the UK and India for every ball of the series. Harmy's winging. Well, he's watching his son play for. How is it? Durham Academy.
Yep.
Today, so he's going to be up here. Bumble's going to be part of it as well. Jeremy Coney's flown in from New Zealand.
Brilliant.
He's going to be part of what we're doing as well. It's just going to be a lot of fun, right? It's going to be brilliant.
Fantastic. Can't wait for your company wherever you're listening or watching in the world outside of the UK.
Can I have a prediction?
Yes, I think England are
Shall
going
we
to
do
win. I think England are going to win. You disagreed with me. We spoke about this a couple of days ago after the World Test Championship final, and you said, I said that I think that England have now moved into a position where they're strong favourites, or should be regarded as strong favourites. You
Sadly,
weren't having it. You weren't having it.
It's the bowling.
Well, you see, I think that Jofra Archer's going to come back. I think that
that's true.
I think that
That's
he's
true,
going to
maybe.
play, and I think that England. Okay, you know what? I don't care. Egg on the face. I'm used to it. Doesn't bother me. I'm going 3-1 England.
I'm going 2-2.
I don't know why I said 3-1 because
We've
I
both
can't
gone
see
for a draw. No, we've both gone for a draw.
Exactly, but that's rain because no one draws a test match if there's no rain.
I don't know. I could see.
Okay, if we're having a dry summer, if we're going to have a real summer as we've had the last couple of days, I'm going to go 3-2 England.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-2. I could see it 3-2 either way. I think it's going to be close. I think both sides have got enough to win a test or two or three. I can't wait. I actually can't call. I can't call it. It won't be 5-0.
No, it's not going to be 5-0. 3-2 either way. 3-2 England. Actually, I'll stick with that.
Mariners, thank you. We'll be back for the start play. 10:30 UK for the first day of what will be 5 days of cricket, I imagine, and then just before 11 o'clock for all other days. But for now, thanks for joining us on Following On.